So I'll just close that one there. We've seen the name of the debtor, first, middle name, family name, and also surname. Even if it's a single name, it's still the debtor. I'll close that one off there. Now, going to get into Australia. Oh my God. Because of this, what's going on with the covert, let me stop that sharing there and see if I can find this document here. Where was it? Oh, no. No, that's not it. That's not it. Right, find this document. Oh yeah, with the Privacy Act. You know that Privacy Act and Fair Works Act?
Yes. 2009, correct?
Yeah.
Fair Works or WorkSafe? Fair Works.
Oh, Fair Works, yeah. So what I found in there is where they have, oh, that's not it. That's not it. They've, oh, let me close these things. I've got so many things open, it's not funny.
That never happens.
Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. If I can share the screen, open up this document here. Oh, here we are. Okay. Now I posted that document, and I just added a few more things on the end of it. But if we go up to here. So when they want your name, they were wanting you to give them access to your credit provider, mortgage insurer, and trade insurer. This is all operating within your name for an information request of the individual. Okay. Now, since they introduced the Covert, that credit provider has become Covert safe. Where do you keep your money? In a safe?
Yeah, in the COVID safe.
It's called a Covert safe now. And the mortgage insurer is now a Covert app data. And the trade insurer has become the national Covert safe data store.
So let me just confirm something, because this just seems so bloody ridiculous. The stuff that's highlighted in yellow, have you typed that on there, or is that part of the form and you've highlighted it?
These are the sections, key sections out of the Privacy Act. Remember? So
yeah, but what I'm saying is that so it's written in the Privacy Act as as you presented it there. It's not your interpretation, or is that your interpretation?
I summarized it for you. You know, you wanted the script on
yes.
What's the yeah. So what I highlighted was if they are asking a question, you know, they pull you over to the side of the road or they're going to arrest you, they want your name. So answering a question, is this a credit provider, Covert safe, or a mortgage insurer, Covert app data, or a trade insurer, national Covert safe data store information request, under the Privacy Act 1988, yes or no?
Okay, so where do you get that mortgage insurer is COVID app data?
It's on the document, the legislation. Okay, so information request, section 6R. They're making a request, information request. They want your credit provider information, yeah?
Yeah.
See it?
Yes.
They want your mortgage insurer information. And they want your trade insurer information. This is all operating in the name.
Yes.
The privacy is your private purse. They're getting access to it. So with the COVID, they've updated it. We go down. There's the interference with privacy. There's protection from civil action, adverse action, and fair works. That's where the fair works, the adverse action is in.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the COVID safe comes in. In section 94H is the COVID safe, but that's where the adverse action and fair works joins together. So this is what they're after now, is your COVID safe, COVID app data, and national. It's like the National Treasure, you know, that movie? National COVID safe data store.
Now, that's their writing, isn't it? That's not something that you've typed. That's in the legislation.
This is in the legislation. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So that's what I was getting at, Crown.
Yep.
Right.
So
because it's fair enough to have an interpretation, but for people to see that this is here, it's written here. It's written here. Because this is like, so is there a virus in the legislation?
The Crown is the virus, yes. Well, the Crown has always been the virus, but it's also the antidote.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to have a look where that, if you go into the Privacy Act, Commonwealth, Federal, into the Privacy Act and put in keywords, you'll find those sections.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do, because of the depth of knowledge that you've got on the topic and the amount of research that you've done, there's things that you find that are straight up obvious to you. But to people who haven't swum in that pool as deep as you have, they're just looking at it going, what? It doesn't make sense, because you've got the media going COVID, 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 but it's not about any of the stuff we're talking about. Then you look at these acts and how things have changed, and all of a sudden COVID's in there. All of a sudden this is now the thing that dominates our life, and people think COVID's going to go away. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it.
No, it's the new financial system, from what I can see, and I'll just show you what's happening within the state legislation and the federal with the COVID. Yeah.
Yep, we'll go through that, and then they will take a couple of questions after that, and we'll be getting close to rounding up.
Okay, here we go. So I've had to download here we go. This is the Commonwealth, which is federal. Every act that has COVID in it, a reference to COVID. So in the Commonwealth and federal, you'll see the COVID is mainly in the privacy and the Social Security, and one other act, which is Corporations Act 2001. And there's 3 pages of those reference to covert in those acts here. right? So I'm trying to get a bird's eye view of what's going on within all the federal and the Commonwealth and the state legislation and how they're interacting.
So with the term COVID in the legislation, do you recall off the top of your head what the earliest occurrence of that is in the timeline?
Well, I'm figuring it was initiated in legislation in New Zealand.
But how long ago?
About 2006.
Awesome job.
And it's just filtered out for all the through the double tax agreements and into your guys' legislation over there.
So it's been incubating for a while.
Yes, they've been playing this for a while, and just looking at what's happening within the Club of the 300 and all that. They've been working on this in the United Nations since around that time period, 2005 to 2006.
So let's just pick one random one here. I'll have a look at, which I can't because you just moved the page. Guarantee of lending to small and medium enterprises, Coronavirus Economic Response Package Act 2020. So is that the first time coronavirus appeared, or was that there earlier in that act?
No, what they've done is that they've created new acts and also amended old acts by introducing the COVID into that, like the Privacy Act.
So have they added a word in, or did they replace another word?
No, they just added it in.
They just added it in, okay.
Amendment.
Yeah, but I'm looking, you know what I'm talking about, whether they had another word there and now they replaced it with coronavirus or they replaced it with COVID-19. But from what you're saying, they've just added it in there.
Added it in, yes. They amended that act so that it's affected by the COVID safe and the COVID-19. So this would be a good exercise for everyone else to be able to understand what's going on and seeing where their remedies are. Now, I found it very interesting that we're going to New South Wales Consolidated Acts, right? And there's only 2 pages in reference to COVID in New South Wales. Now, when we go to Victoria, there's about 5 pages of legislation that have been affected by the COVID-19. And then we go to Western Australia. Oh, there's 12 pages of legislation. Just trying to see if there's a pattern of where the central control is coming from in Australia itself.
Okay, so now we're getting into an area where we're really gone away from the Constitution. Like, I mean, this is really blatantly obvious that there's no Constitution in force, because there's no way this would be in accordance with it.
Exactly. This is emergency management. It's like civil defense. It's like what do you call it? Martial law.
Yes.
Martial law is the military stepping in. You see the military, and you got civil defense. That's local government. That's police. Civil defense, emergency response. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we look at Queensland. There's only 3 pages of legislation that's been affected by COVID-19. But this is very interesting. The Northern Territory, when we put COVID in there, nothing. The Northern Territory hasn't been affected by the COVID-19. Why? Because it's a territory, not a state.
So is that true of the ACT?
I will go to the next one here. I've got all of them lined up. So here's Tasmania. 6 pages of COVID. And here is the last one. Only the Northern Territory hasn't got Covert. But what it does have, now when we're talking about Darwin, this is where Cook and Darwin came in through the top there. That's why they had that meeting up there. The tribes went up there to the court and served notice at Darwin, eh? Now what's interesting is that when you put Crown in there, in the Northern Territories, I'll just go back. There we go, Crown. So you can see, you can search within the Act.
Yeah.
Or all the acts within that state. So there's some interesting stuff in relation to Crown in the Northern Territory, because that appears to be the entry point where Cook came in, like William from up the Torres Strait talking about, and that's linking to Uluru in the centre there. So Jane brought up the other night an old map of Australia where it was only 2 states, New South Wales. So you got Western Australia, New South Wales, then New Zealand in that time period.
No, I can't quite remember it. You might know, you might not, but there was I understand that the world was divided into 2 at one point, and that's why we've got the straight line down dividing Western Australia from the rest of Australia, because of one side was under one jurisdiction and one was under the other. But I can't remember what those jurisdictions were.